El Cortijo Fischer, also known as the Gorvernor's Farmhouse, Villa Cecilia or Saint Cecile Manor, is an old residential building of the towered villa type situated in Almeria, and built in the early 20th century. Today in age, it is the central office of the Andalusian Women's Bureau in Almeria. The building was built by Federico Fischer DRWS, 15th May 1910–13th July 1918, a member of a Danish family composed of 16 members, whose occupation was entirely devoted to the commerce of wood, oil and grapes. Hermann, Mr. Fischer and family trying to broaden the wood market, Fischer sets up in the south of Spain, and in 1872 is appointed as a consul representing 7 nations, among which are obviously Denmark together with Germany, Russia, France, and Italy among others. Later on, he settles in Almeria to continue his work as a Danish consul in the south of Spain, as well as to grow rich both as a ship agent and as an olive oil, first, and grapes from Mohans trader, later. No wonder. His was one of the most important grapes exportation firms in the province of Almeria. We don't know where exactly in Denmark he was born. What we do know is that he was born to a Spanish sailor called Juan Martin Fischer, and that he took his father's second surname instead of the first one. Federico Fischer was a discreet character who was not fond of social ostentation. That is probably the reason why we cannot find almost any references to his person in the decimononic social upper-class column in the local press. There is no evidence, despite his economic relevance, of the fact that he would have held any positions in any entertainment, commercial or grape trading societies. On the other hand, here is a little story that illustrates the point. He purchased one of the first automobiles which were driven on the city roads, a French Marat Garden driven by his chauffeur Bernardo Vizcaino. A few years later, he marries his first and only wife, Cecilia Winslow Jensen, born in Copenhagen, who dies due to a horse-riding fall-off just 6 years after their wedding, according to a romantic legend, but, in reality, she died in her bedroom at 31 Almedina Street at the age of 28 from a terrible disease of that period, granulophthisis, tuberculosis. They had their first child, one, in 1876, who survived his mother, but died at an early age right before puberty. The second, Cecilia, also died 2 months after she was born to a brain congestion. Johann Lorist was the third one, but he also passed away prematurely due to his mother's cause of death at the age of 10 months. The 3 of them were born in the capital of Almeria, and they are all buried in the British cemetery next to St. Joseph's Cemetery. Later, the 2 youngest heirs, German and Guillermo, were born in Denmark, who returned to Almeria with their mother when they were older. Federico Fischer DRWS stayed as a widower until he passed away in its new house in El Quemadero neighborhood, Villa Cecilia, at an elderly age to an arteriosclerosis, a heart disease, on 13th July 1918 after 40 years living in Almeria. He devoted his long life to commerce and trading, where he was always considered a gentle, kind, courteous, generous man, according to the local press obituary. Description: supposedly, the construction of the house would start after all his family's disgrace came to an end by 1900. Fischer wanted the mansion to look like the one the family owned in Lübeck, in Germany, getting the name of Villa Cecilia as an obvious tribute to his beloved deceased wife. Motifs such as either the female faces left (allegedly Cecilia's) decorating the capitals, or the roses, which apparently she loved, make reference to the votive character of the building. It is decorated using a classy rich ornamentation of beautiful floorings and skylights, delicate village and stained glass windows and plaster friezes, ornamented banisters and floral motifs, etc. The Spanish government bought the house in 1940, and in 1947, Almeria's civil governor's residence was established there. From 1969 onwards it became the provincial education delegation. It was restored by the architect Ramon de Torres between 2008 and 2010, and it finally became Andalusian Women's Bureau Provincial Central Office after the Restoration. This manor, which is more than 1,200 sqm big, situated in a 13-hectare property, is probably one of the best examples of Almeria's modernist architecture, without diminishing the architectural traditional upper-class historicism or the classicism in the city. The health inspector at the time wrote a very favourable report on the house. The building in question, elegantly and luxuriously built, has all the modern commodities anyone could think of. Therefore, nothing has been economized to reach the highest salubrity and hygiene standards, being even equipped with the most modern built septic tanks as well as numerous WCs and wash basins of all types for the personal hygiene of all its residents, even for the serving staff living in the building.